going to have a few very important topics today for this discussion. So, long story short, we've done several webinars in the past talking about how to close deals, how to send out emails that they're not going to spam, and so on and so forth, right? But very often, a lot of our clients and people that we talk to, they often sort of ask us, guys, I mean, you've done an incredible job creating sequences, doing outreach, and creating templates, right? But what are the best practices out there, right? What industries this cold outreach can work for, and which industries this outreach couldn't work for, right? Or what is the average open rate for my industry, for example, right? So all these questions will be answered today by me and my team. So 7 key topics for today, okay? So first, we're going to be talking about why does cold outreach work for some companies and for some doesn't, right? Which industries or verticals benefit from the outreach the most. We're also going to talk about the perfect outreach sequence, and we're going to share some best practices, and we're going to have a lot of discussion around that. And then we're going to have or what I'll do, it's a certain very interesting bonus for all the people that joined today, the webinar or the roundtable discussion. Let's put that in this way. So what we did, we prepared a list of industries with average open rate and reply rate benchmark. We've done some research as well as we've kind of analyzed. And I'm going to be talking about the volumes there in a minute, right? But what we're going to do, we're going to bring this up during the discussion, and then we're going to share the list with you all guys who attended so that you can compare it with what you guys have on your end. And then we're going to bring up a few examples of successful client campaigns. And we're going to discuss why those campaigns are successful. Then the team going to share some of our personal recommendations into how you can be set up for success with regards to your cold outreach. And then we're going to do some Q&A about 10-15 minutes. And I will be coordinating the discussion today. And then please, as we go, think about the question that you wanted to ask the team, and then put those questions down in the chat. And I'll be happy to then go ahead and answer all those questions for you with the team. All right. So let's just get started with this discussion, shall we? So the first thing, just for you guys to understand how many hours we've spent doing this outreach and how experienced the team is here. So I've kind of calculated an average time where everyone from the team here have been with the company, how many campaigns they've done, and we've get to this incredible number. So altogether, all the people that you have here on the call spent over 96,000 hours total over the last 5 years doing outreach. So you can imagine we can share some damn incredible results and some incredible insights that we've kind of gathered over this hours and years of experience. Okay. So the first question that we're going to be talking today about is, why does cold outreach work for some companies and for some doesn't? And just to kind of shake things up here, what I'll do, let's play the game right now, okay? So because I see that everyone is kind of cold after the calls that you had, so let's just shake up here a bit and have some fun, because all the people that are gonna attending this, they're gonna think that we are boring, and that's not true, and as we know, right? So let's do this. So the first one, why outreach works for some companies and for some doesn't? What is that? Why there's some companies that set up for success more and some that are not, and they fail miserably? And we're gonna do this one as a game. So it's gonna be it's gonna be the game where, starting from me, we're gonna do one by one, and then it's gonna be 30 seconds per person to answer or give the insight. And if you don't know anything, or you don't anything comes up to your mind, then you're pass and you're eliminated from the game. And then we're gonna see who wins this. Okay, we're gonna have like 10 minutes for this discussion. All right. So the question is, why companies that do cold outreach fail when they do cold outreach, or why it doesn't work for them. All right. So I'm going to answer the first one. And again, I'm not sure whether people that listening to this, what kind of industries they're with or what kind of products they are selling. But one of the great things that I've learned over the years of doing this is you cannot do cold outreach if your average deal size or average subscription or average check or money that you're making per purchase or per client is something like a few $100s, or it's a low certain limit, right? So then your cost of acquisition of doing cold outreach right is just too expensive, right? Purchasing leads is too expensive. Purchasing all of those licenses as tools is too expensive. Having a dedicated SDR is too expensive. So if it's too expensive, it's not going to work for you. And I know that many companies basically do cold outreach still, even though they know that they cannot afford this. So this is like my fail. And by the way, you can vote in the chat whether that's a good point or recommendation or not, because if it's not, then Tim gonna just shame me off there. So so I have just let's go one by one here according to the priority list here. I see, or we can just raise hands, guys.
Yeah, I can actually tap.
Oh, okay. So
right.
Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think overall, of course, we're going to discuss overall the templates, the successful maybe wording that we can use for our campaigns. But overall, we have to remember that templates is just part of the whole process of outreach. And we should keep in mind our ideal customer profile, overall target audience. Then, of course, all of the technical aspects of our projects. So the deliverability is one of the key and crucial parts. Then, of course, overall the follow-up process and how you want to structure this process. And of course, the consistency in working with all of the responses that you get, it's also a super crucial part. So there are multiple and a lot of details that we should keep in mind. And of course, it's just a matter of expertise, of certain experience, and some of companies, of course, they lack that experience since they're experts in some field, and it requires a lot of time to know all of these insights, and actually takes years to understand what works best and what process we should stick to in order to be successful in email cold outreach.
Thanks, I think Dmitry is going for a win here.
Yeah.
He just went with the list basically and just said, okay, guys, I'm just going and finishing this up for you all, right? Appreciate this. All right, who's next? Alex, let's go with your one.
Sure. So I would go back to what Dmitry was saying. So to the templates and overall approach of how you put your value proposition. So you should think not only about how to position yourself, but keep in mind that other folks, they may not even read till the very end of your email, or especially email sequence if you have like 4 or 5 waves. So it should be a combination of, okay, I want to put and add all the information that's relevant, but still I should think if I were that prospect I'm reaching out to, if I would open that one, if I would be, interested to read till the very end, and then, kind of combining the things, only then you can come up with some template and overall approach that will resonate and that will bring you some responses, leads, and potential deals.
That's a good one. Thanks, Alex. Let's go one by one. Who didn't talk to?
I mean, let me start, if you don't mind. So yeah, I mean, I can agree more with Alex, but really, if you have the wrong ICP, if you just spray and pray and target everyone, you will have nothing. I mean, you might have calls, but you won't close the deal.
All right, Alice, you will.
Yeah, I can next. Yeah, and actually, like following like the type of ICP, so you definitely have to know your customer, and you actually have to know the pain points that they have and how your product covers, because basically for in different industries and for different titles, that could be different pain points. So you have to understand that they are different and phrase it in a way in order to hook them, and basically yes, to relate to this pain. So I think that is like one of the important things here to differentiate between titles as well, besides knowing your audience.
Yeah, that's a very good one. And just for the people that are listening to this, right? Very often we had like hundreds of campaigns where when we started the campaign, we asked the client, who your ideal clients are. And clients always say, hey, this is the titles that I really want to work with. And they usually, what they do, they analyze companies that they already have in their book, right? They analyze what people they work with. But very often the people that you work with on your product or service are not the actual decision makers that are making the purchase, or that might be different from industry to industry. So when we approach the campaign, we might not seeing the results we want from the first few weeks or month, just because we're reaching to the wrong titles, right? And those titles are not either decision makers, or they are not just making shots for the product or service or they're not interested in even evaluating this, right? Even though they might be not even budget holders. So for this reason, right, you always look at, okay, what are the titles that might be a good fit for me? Reaching out to those titles, A/B testing, right? And sort of like understanding which one works better for you, collecting feedbacks, collecting responses, categorizing them. And only when you see that, okay, these are the titles that really engage with me and with my brand, only those you can actually go ahead and they scale and then reach out more and more and more and more with a certain unique value proposition, right? Let's just maybe randomly pick someone from the chat. So Vas here asked whether we are using any like icebreakers to personalize our first message. So who can take this one? Do we guys use any variables?
Sure. That's the key for your template. I mean, you cannot just say, hey there, I want to sell you something. That's not the right way. So the most important for you is to make your template look familiar to the prospect. Use some words that are industry specific and bring the value right away. Make sure you have this, sweet and personalized and short, especially the subject line. And think of it like 2 to 3 times. As Michael mentioned, A/B test, ABC test, all the subject lines you have, come with the best one and use it and for the whole outreach then.
What variables do you guys use all the time? So obviously we use first name. That's like a go-to, right, variable there. We use company name.
Company title.
We use
sometimes.
company title. Okay, what else?
Industry.
We do industry. Okay. Can someone name me some creative ones? The one that you like don't just think of right off the bat.
Number of real estate agents within the brokerage.
Okay, Alice, can you tell us the story? Where did you use this one?
So we use this one for the coaching platform for real estate agents that we were promoting, and we used it, where we're able to dig up the information about the number of agents within like the brokerage, right? We were able to insert it, and we were like, hey, since you're having this and this amount of agents, most probably it's hard to track, and then we went further. So that was one of the out of generic ones, let's say, variables.
And I also have a few creative variables. So one of them is when we had a campaign around looking for professionals for healthcare, and we used not only the name of the clinical trial that we found, but also the phase of the trial and the stage of the trial itself. So we were crafting it like, hey, I've just seen that your clinical trial number NCT91, whatever it is,
right,
is now in phase number 4. So you're probably thinking about commercialization of the drug if it's going to be approved. So we're proposing you experts on demand for that. So that's kind of creative way of putting that value proposition. If it works, you A/B test, as Michael was saying about A/B testing. And if you see something more straight to the point works better, so it's not obligatory to use a lot of variables and make it super, super complicated.
Right. Sometimes too much is too much, right? So you just really think of, well, man, I need to personalize this. But then when you actually read it after you send it, you're like, oh, okay, I tried too hard. And that's just it's not like how people talk usually, right? So
yeah, I mean, think of it that like when you put too much variables into the template, the probability you're going to fail one of them, you just, is higher. So you should be concise and use 2-3 variables that you're like, you're sure that this is the number of employees they have or something, and don't make it super complicated. So you're going to fail if you use something wrong. Personalization won't work. So
yeah, guys, I have a good one. I just thought of this right now. You remember this this mainstream where on LinkedIn, there was a platform, someone where you can when you automate when someone is like holding a whiteboard with your name or with the company, and then you receive like hundreds of those every day from different people, because people think that, oh, this is cool, this is creative. But when you receive hundreds of those, it's like, you know, what the f is this, right? So that's why, like, very often when you think of the variable, make sure that you're not getting that best practice of the HubSpot blog that a million of readers are reading, because you can imagine that your prospect and you're receiving a lot of those same variables as you receive, and you feel like that you are creative, but you are not. So when you go with classy one, that's much better than when you try to be kind of creative there, right?
Going back to last question here about the first line, exactly. So a little simple things that we found is a variable today. So basically the current day of the day. So when you start your email, hi, first name, happy Wednesday. It's just a little simple thing. It's nothing complex like guys here described, but it works with open rate being higher. We found that on one project because it shows that that email was crafted today. Well, it's like a psychological bit today. So person would think, oh, so yeah, it's not automated, it's been written like today. So that's like Vas, to your question, a little like icebreaker first line that proved to be working as well. Just a little kind of thing.
So cool, Vlad, thanks. What about openings in general? Do you think that openings really matter in terms of like the performance rate for any sequence or any cold outreach? Like how you open up the email, or it's basically the same? How do we usually open an email? My point, or what I usually personally do, is I really like to start with an argument or with a question. I really like just go in for the win there. So I never sort of like go around the kind of, you know, chasing the bushes, but really going into, do you need more clients? So can someone argue here, is this the right approach, or you would say that you need to start with a more like soft approach there?
I would say that, you know, obviously it makes sense to start for some, you know, sales guys in some particular industries. But if you're reaching out, let's say, to universities, and that was like, you know, street guys wearing suits and ties, you obviously cannot go with, hey there, like, I want to get more clients. They don't want to. You have to think of your audience and then personalize your language and the way how you speak and what you're referring to. If that's a startup, obviously, you know, you can start, hey guys, hey, it was nice hanging out with you yesterday at the party, and then, you know, go move forward with the deals or numbers. So it really depends on your audience. Think of it first and then, you know, personalize it.
Yeah, I agree here. Like we can compare, like, I mean, there are different personas. I mean, because there are different personal things, right, within different titles. So basically in like creative or marketing industries, we could see a lot of like really easygoing guys, and they could be less formal. If you're targeting like some financial titles in huge enterprises, then definitely we should be more official and should be like softer in some ways, and yeah, go more for partnership rather than a sales pitchy and easygoing way. So that really depends.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 25 minutes since we've been talking about this, so I probably should be moving on to the next one. But just for everyone that's listening to this, you can imagine that we've just named 10 or 15 different things that work or doesn't work with the cold outreach, and you can imagine that we probably can talk about this for hours, because there are so many things, little things that actually matter. And the idea here is that you just need to try to make as many mistakes as you can, to then learn on those mistakes in your specific industry, and then always you know, there's a process, it's called like continuous improvement process, where you, as you go, you always tailor. We talked about, okay, here's what you do or don't do with regards to cold outreach and why it works, right? But talking about the industries and verticals that the cold outreach might work better for, or might not work at all. Maybe we can right now just discuss which industries we think that cold outreach works really well for, considering our experience and our current clients and engagements. So I can start because I have a permission to start today because I'm the host. I would tell you about the industry that you shouldn't be going after. So I had a client, the agency that was working on reputation building in law industry, specifically with lawyers, right? And they were working with local lawyers, like family offices, so like probably like, you know, like an office with one lawyer, a few lawyers, and so on and so forth, right? And we were thinking and strategizing and saying, hey, what we can do for this campaign to work so we can get as many local lawyers as we can. And we were thinking, okay, what if we're gonna go to Google My Business page and we're gonna look for lawyers with the low rating, like with like 1 star, 2 stars, that really need that reputation, right? And we're gonna show this and say, hey guys, we saw you have 2 stars on Google My Business. Wow, your competitors have 4. Let's just go and we help you to go to 5 stars so you can generate more business in your area. And we thought like, hey, that's a great idea, right? Like why they wouldn't go for it? We can get them more business for low cost, we are local. But when we started the campaign, everyone that we've been talking to, we're like, off, I don't need it, not anymore. I'm gonna sue your ass. They were not responding. And we're like, why? We really wanted to create value for those companies. And then we realized those lawyers with 2 stars, they're just assholes. So if you're an asshole, then like you don't need anything. They are totally fine where they are and they know this, so they don't need this. To do an outreach for the vertical like law offices, selling anything like marketing for them or reputation or making them more successful, I wouldn't do cold outreach in that vertical.
I have a similar case when we were thinking was going to work, but then it didn't at all. So we had a client, they were doing like website development. So that was my first client of that type. And the idea was to target like companies in some conservative industries, like construction, for instance, or manufacturing. And the idea was that, look, check any construction website, like plumbers or anything else like that. The website is horrible. It's like from 1,999 or whatever. And then we added like thousands of those leads, even though we tried to personalize it. We even tried to add some variables of, hey, this section is not working. It's not clickable. This is awful. That's crashing. My iPhone is just dying trying to open your website. And what we got was just the kind of typical response, like, I don't need a website. And that great idea just turned out to be a horrible kind of experience because we spent a lot of efforts, and even though we thought it was gonna work, frankly, we understand that we didn't know something about this industry, and then we completely changed the approach. But that's a totally different story. Yeah.
Thanks, Alice. Guys, what do you think about a lot of folks that we work with, and a lot of people that are doing cold outreach are companies from software development industry, specifically developing software applications. So there are a lot of companies in this space. Everyone is hungry for new clients, for opportunities, right? And the competition is tough. Would you say this is the good industry to do cold outreach for, based on our experience, or not? Who can kind of say to this?
I mean, I can. So, I mean, definitely that's a good industry that you can, where you can definitely do the cold outreach, but you have to think of 2 things. So the first one is whether you're good enough, how many developers you have, and what's your ICP. Because I mean, a great story where we actually failed to deliver is where we've tried to personalize a lot of our templates. We've done a lot of efforts and searching for the university that the guy graduated from, and then the founder of the company was graduated from the same university. And we've done a lot of effort there, like super personalized the template. But where we were reaching out to like a huge enterprise size company, 2,000-3,000 employees, and I mean, they don't really need a software development. They have their own department where they can develop everything by themselves. And I mean, we've been doing this for months. We've sent a lot of emails, and as a result, we get nothing. And so this industry works well, but you have to know your product, your audience. And as I said before, I mean, think of, will your offer actually work for this company? Would they want to hire you, especially if you're like a company, if you're a US company based out of Silicon Valley, and then I know you're in Brazil, and I mean, in Ukraine or Europe, it's not relevant for them because they already have someone there and they are working. They have a lot of developers. So I would say that's a competitive niche. It's oversaturated, so you have to think twice before starting the cold outreach, and you have to be ready that your price per meeting will be higher than average. But then, I mean, if you do everything right, you're going to close a few deals, and your ROI going to be like sky. So.
Yeah, it's just you need to pay. You need to be ready to pay more. right? Dimitri, you also had some peace of mind there.
Yeah. So I also wanted maybe to add a few notes on this one. Like overall, of course, we understand that there's pretty tight competition in the software development space. And so maybe what actually stand out successful company like from others is actually their level maybe of expertise. They understand that like there are specific target audience that they want to target like with this value. And of course, this type of company, they can put like some values, some expertise, some really cool case studies, and it's going to be super kind of relevant to these prospects that they're going to target. If you manage to put a lot of relevant information, case studies, that then should be a winning strategy for you.
And the website really matters here.
Sure.
It's like even stepping back, why some companies outreach works for others does not. That's website actually, because you know who I'm talking about. We had a client where we couldn't generate any like leads for a couple of months because the website didn't look that good. But once it got updated, right now we're generating like 15 appointments in a couple of weeks. So that really plays a difference. So really like evaluate your website, take a look what can be updated there first.
Talking about this case. Yes. Just another thing I think to mention. So really there for this particular case with personalized our templates, and we wrote down something like Elon Musk launched the rocket, and he's like innovator, and being an innovator as well, want to test our services. So I mean, this was super creative. No one else personalized this like that, but it doesn't work. Why? Because I mean the website wasn't good. They've changed the website now. I would say the message there is not that personalized, more of a standard one, but it works well because I mean the prospect check your website, and if you're a software development company, you have to have a fancy website. If you have just a one pager with no animation, I mean, then probably you do your job bad, right? So super important.
Could I share my experience, not with the software company? Yeah, so I want to share a really good case with the cleaning company now. This client was looking for buildings that he can clean. We are targeting only a few counties, but our open and reply rates are really high. This industry is really specific niche, and usually such type of campaigns don't use a cold outreach to get more appointments and clients. And that's why we don't have any competitors here. And we have really cool experience with these clients. We have up to 7 appointments per week. And our client just go to this place and have like discussion with prospects. These clients even closed a few deals and signed up to 5 contracts so far. So just to sum up, I think that such type of specific niche industries that don't have a lot of competitors in cold outreach and email sendings should work the best. It's from my experience.
Agree with you 100% there. We've had dozens of clients in a very niche, traditional in a way, I would say orthodox way of doing business, going from door to door, really to a trade show, shaking hands, working with their own book of business. And this is like the way the things are in their industry. So you can imagine that all of those competitors of theirs, even the good ones, they still leverage the same instruments of marketing like they do. So whenever you disrupt it and you try something new, right, then you have huge performance. As an example, we've been working with this company out of Midwest. They're like a premium furniture manufacturer. They've been around for like almost like 150 years. They're known in the space. But you can imagine, and they are catering their products to golf clubs, men's clubs, private clubs, all those elite establishments, right? And how they sell, they develop a catalog, they distribute that catalog via post, and then people review the catalog, buy a chair, buy a bar station, renovate, and then that's it. You can imagine that when we pulled the outreach and we contacted people directly via email, asking whether they want to renovate right now or not. I mean, oh my God, Alex, do you remember you've been on the project with me? We had like something like 95% open rate of our emails. Yeah. Like we had like 60% reply rate, and people were like, yeah, I need 10 chairs. I need 5 tables. I need this. We're doing the renovation. We're doing some other shit. And we're like, oh my God, that's just crazy. And the reason is that we were the only one doing this because other competitors didn't do this. And this is just the disruption. So think of other industries that are still doing more traditional ways of things in terms of their marketing, and the way that simple channel can disrupt that industry. But obviously, if you're in a very highly competitive industry and it's too late for you to go and do something else, then okay, how I can be more creative with the way I'm doing this, how I can, how I can be better in what I'm doing, and be better, for example, talking about the email marketing. And I think that we might talk for a minute about this, but, and someone asked from the chat, I'm reviewing the chat right now, someone asked us, where do I generate leads, or what are the tools, or what are the sources where I generate leads, right? And by the way, and we've talked about personas a lot, we've talked about the ICPs a lot, right? So what are the people that you reached out to? And I know for the fact that many companies and people are a bit lazy. So they think like, hey, I'm going to set up like a license with ZoomInfo. I'm going to export leads. I'm going to create templates, and I'm going to be successful because I'm paying 15 grand or $25,000 per year for ZoomInfo, and they should be giving me the good leads. But that's not how it usually works. If you're not putting a lot of work into, generating a list, then probably your competitor is doing the same. So in this way, sort of like, you are basically bidding the same goat, and then sort of like at the end of the day, getting the poor results. So, maximizing, where did you get the leads, right? What are the people you reached out to? How accurate those are? Maximizing, creating the template, maximizing, renovating the website, maximizing all of those details would lead you to where you want to be, right? But if you're really trying to slack and just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to just delegate this, or I think that we're going to do the volume, that's not going to work. And to the point that, that both Vlad and Yuri raised about the updating the website, right? I just want to say that many people don't realize that we are living in the world where everything is connected in a way, and it's a research-based buying process. So before someone gives their time, before someone wants to join the call, reply the email, they're going to check you out. They're going to check out your business. They're going to check out where you are. They're going to check out what people say about you. They're going to check out your visuals. And if they are really shopping for something like you guys offer, right, then they've been to your competitor's website. So if you have a competitor that is known in the space, that spent $100,000 developing the website with a lot of cases, everything is like very nicely done, everything is running smoothly, opening, people talking, people are happy, all the faces, all the smiling, and then you have a landing page where there's a one block when you say call me, then probably there will be sort of like discrepancy between the digital footprints, or the sort of like the trust that you would do this, right? So think about outbound as the combination of inbound, my brand, my PR, my digital footprints, my business, my value, and that's going to reflect into your campaign results. Obviously, you can do it, right? We're not saying here that you cannot do cold outreach. Whatever you guys do, you can do the cold outreach, but think of the conversions, think of whether it's going to be viable for you, and think of how much money you're willing to spend. If you're willing to spend $10,000 per appointment booked, I mean, it's doable. I think that for $10,000, you can probably send Elon a gift card or something, and Elon going to join that call, right? Just basically to get that 10 grand or something. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to be moving to another one and this is very timely because someone asked in the chat, what are the good practices for open rates? And we've prepared something specific for you guys here. I've pulled up our numbers from the tools that we're using, and over the last 5 years, we've sent 72 million emails, 72 million emails, okay? We took those emails and we have all the stats, like who opened those emails, who replied, what industries, what titles, right? And we've done the research and we compare that with what other companies in the industry have that. And what we did, we pulled the list of all the most popular industries. I think we have about 100 of those. And we've averaged the open rate and reply rate to create a benchmark with our results and the results that are out there on the market, okay? And we're gonna share this list with everyone who registered for this discussion so that you can access the list and you can compare it with what you guys have and compare what others have in the industry, Okay, so the email with the link will be sent together with the recording after we've done with the with this discussion. It probably in a few days or so. Right now, really wanted to talk with, while I still have team here, talk about this highlighted ones. So we highlighted here everything above 50% in terms of the open rate that are good, that is like above average, because here you can see that the average across the board, right? So average across all the industries is 37%, right? For the open rate and 8% for the reply rate. So we average that, and we think that 51% is really good. Anything above or anything below 25% is not that good. And in terms of the reply rate, anything below 5% for the reply rate is bad, and everything above 10% is actually very good. Or actually, I think that even 15%. Yeah, I think about 50%. What about government here? We have government official, government administration. Is this like going like B2G companies is a good way of doing cold outreach for? Who have experience with B2G here that can share why we have 67% here?
Those folks, they are obliged to respond to you most of the times. Let's say, we've done once a nice campaign for, actually German governmental organizations, and then we wrote a really long email in German language, and I said to my client, hey, no one's going to respond to us. It's like, well, A4 page, the whole page of text, no one's going to read that one. But they actually responded to us really officially. And so when you do reach out to governmental organizations, you can expect the response. Maybe not interested or whatever, but you're going to be there because this is a part of their job. And they kind of, maybe, I don't know if they're scared or not, but they just, say, hey, probably have to respond to this fall because, maybe that's like, he offers something great to us. And that's a part of my job to respond to those emails. So I would say that's because of this.
Yeah. I agree with Yuri. Go on.
Yeah, so I would like to say that it's the same here. So we typically get a lot of responses, and they actually point us to the official way, like of bidding and submitting RFPs and all that stuff. But at least they are like responding, and we know a way. We managed to get like some results out of there, but they are responsive, but not in terms of booking appointments. So that's I think the issue here now.
Right. So good open rates doesn't mean that they're going to be a good appointment rate and you can actually do good business for those folks, right? Okay, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Talking about like really poor reply rates here, I see that AI and big data have poor reply rates. Is it because most people, most of the time when you sell to these industries, you really want to talk to technical folks that handle this, like CDOs and big data specialists, and those guys are not very communicative in terms of actually handling replies and answering emails? Is that the case?
Yeah, you have two options. Like the first one, as you mentioned, because usually these type of services and products are super sophisticated. So your option one is like reaching out to technical titles, like logically. So they should know what you're talking about. They know the language, and unfortunately, they are not that that often checking their mailboxes. They don't tend to respond back. Usually the responses are concise. It's complicated to follow up with them. And overall at booking appointments. Option B is reaching out to some C-level or operations. They're responding more actively, but they are either not on the same page with you in terms of what you're trying to sell, or they always forward it to technical people. So that's a circle, a closed circle. So you're trying to play around. Obviously, we did have multiple strategies, but still overall the response rate and open rate are really low because of these issues.
Yeah, those industries are simply oversaturated with different players. And so let's say if you try to sell AI chatbot, think of how many competitors you have and how you're different. And then, you're obviously going to have a low response rate. So, and the same goes when you reach out to this industry.
And this is so true across the board. I'm looking at semiconductor, software development, virtual reality. All of those are really heavily technical industries. And, the reply rate is poorer than across the board with others, right? Actually, that's a really great point, guys. If I were to cater my product or services to a technical niche industry, I wouldn't probably hope that my cold outreach would be very efficient in terms of the budget that I'm spending. And I would probably going to be putting a lot of money into getting those folks, right? So my cost of acquisition will be by definition higher than if I will be or am in other industry, right? What about those that are like for example, individual family services, family offices, 15% reply rate, or nonprofit, 15%. Okay, can someone share his experience selling to nonprofits? Why nonprofits respond a lot? And do we see that nonprofits is a good industry to tap into with cold outreach?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's like anytime you need some appointments and, you can always reach out to nonprofits. I mean, you're never going to receive some bad response, off. You'll never receive this email from nonprofits just because they're nice, they're polite, and they try to respond to everyone. To keep the brand, they respond this way because they want to keep the certain brand, and this is like the way how they communicate. So they want to keep a certain way of communication. And then nonprofit, they're always happy to go to get on call almost all the time. Not necessarily going to show up, but they're always happy to be there.
I think that we should be moving on to Q&A right now because we basically have like 10 minutes and we're going to let everyone go with their day. So guys, please ask us questions here. We're going to spend next 5-10 minutes answering those questions. Again, I'm going to start from the top here. Just make sure that we're addressing everyone's question so that they're answered. So what is really good high open rate in your practice? Guys, what is that really good open rate that you're going for in every campaign? Let's just go one by number. Like Yuri, what's your number?
I would say it's about 85-90%.
Okay, Yuri's playing a game. Okay, let's just be more realistic here. Olga, what's your kind of open rate to go to when you see the campaign, like the very good one?
50-60 is the real number.
60%. Okay, yeah. Alice?
Depends, but 40-60. But that, I mean, we exclude enterprises and all this very big guys because they will be happy to see 20-25 actually. Yeah.
Fortune 500. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean,
Yuri 85, Olga 50-60, Alice 40-60. Dimitri, what's your number?
Yeah, I think that's around 50-60. That's
50-60. Okay, Vlad.
Yeah, 30-40. I mean, you can already book with that, like 5 appointments per month with 30-40.
Right. So Vlad works with enterprise. He kind of okay, 30-40, and then Alex, what's your number?
I agree with Dmitry and Olga, around 50 or 60% on average. That's right. Good.
So anything 55 to 60% is a good, solid open rate that would generate revenue for you guys. Okay, perfect. Okay, what proven tips do you use to educate prospect? So can someone tell? I mean, I know that we very often use this very straightforward, to the point approach, short messages, very short value prop, but talking about actually educating prospects. What are we doing for clients? What is that sort of educate-based approach we're using? Can someone share here the way we approach this?
Yeah, I mean, once we've done a nice campaign with Dmitry actually, and it was a hybrid approach where we've combined LinkedIn with email, and we were pitching something with email, getting back to them on LinkedIn, sharing some of the articles. And that's all was combined with our marketing efforts, where we've actually, asked prospects to vote in the polls we've launched on LinkedIn, and that worked well. So you should think of educating prospects and pitching them at the same time. So with one approach, you kind of collect low-hanging fruits, and then with the second one, you just educate them. And now I'm going to blame you for sending in one email and then getting back to them on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I had the client within the solar energy, and it was basically in New York. So we had an educational approach in a way that we were saying to the prospects, and we were reaching out to architecture firms, and we were saying, hey, most probably but just in case, there was a local law released, and it requires all of the new buildings to be built with solar panels. So here we go, reach out to us whenever. And actually it generated a lot of interest, a lot of calls. We're not going for peachy one, but just for educational one. And one of the most generic, I think, that sharing case studies across your campaign that is relevant to the industry, like saying, hey, you like if we're within like when we're reaching out to state agencies, we were actually pitching a case study that we did for a state agency, but just in an educational way rather than pitching. And then in the end, like, hey, care to learn more or something like that.
Case studies are the best. I always use them. And I go with the case study right off the bat. I basically put the link or put the attachment and say, here's what we've done for your competitor. And this is what we've done. Read this and let's just do the same for you or better for you, right? And then if I receive something like this, I would like, hey, what my competitor is doing good, what they're doing, maybe I can do this. And if this is really the very nice insight for me, then I'm sharing this internally and say, hey guys, here's what they're doing right now. What the fuck we're not doing it right now? Let's just go with and get on the call with Alex and the team to find out, what's happening there, right? And that's kind of good education.
Yeah, that's the same topic as with the website. So not only the website itself helps, but any marketing materials, any decks, anything you have, and not only in the case, as you just mentioned, really straightforward, like, hey guys, that's my case study, but also even when somebody responds negatively or let's say kind of neutral or says maybe I'll forward to my colleagues, it's better if he or she forwards to their colleagues some deck or some relevant case study, and then it gives your SDR some space for the follow-up. So then in a few weeks, you're not just bothering them again, hey, it's me again. You're just following up, hey, did you have a chance to check what I've sent to you, or did you share with your colleagues? What's their feedback? Maybe you shared their email, etc. So it just gives you more space to personalize your follow-ups, and that's really good for the conversion and all.
Okay, I have then the next one from Vitin here in the chat. Vitin asks, what are the suggested digital marketing activities, initiatives that can support the cold outreach to get more appointments? What is that we think we should be doing with digital marketing to get more appointments? Okay, so we should be doing content, right? A lot of content, right? Like case studies, blog posts, PR materials, how-to guides, white papers, decks, presentation, whatever. Content is the king, right? So the more content you have, you can educate the prospect, you can use that in the cold outreach. They can see that you really care about creating value from the education standpoint, not just selling a software, right, and make a buck of it, right? What else works?
I saw a lot of companies who actually create a lot of white papers, case studies, and so on so far. They just post it on their LinkedIn, on the website, and that's all. I mean, no one's going to see that. So you have to work with the audience. You have to do some PPC. You have to do some Facebook, Google ads. You make sure you do webinars and you do everything, to make people see your content. You can even do the cold outreach and establish like a separate channel where you send like newsletters to the folks who visit your website, subscribe to your website. So you utilize, every single channel you can where you can touch the prospect and just before tell, hey, you should buy something. Yeah, hey, here's the content. I give you something, and then you can ask back the appointment or whatever. So that's the key.
I know that for the fact retargeting works a lot as well, because when you do a cold outreach push and you start to generate appointments, a lot of folks might visit your website, might visit your social page like Facebook, right? And if you create an audience pixel gathering on the website, and then you follow up with people that went to your website or your Facebook page with ads, then it's a very cheap and sort of like effective way of getting back the engagements or getting back or increasing the appointments really with that one. I mean, can someone talk to the folks here about the LinkedIn, and why do you need to build an audience and being visible on LinkedIn to kind of, again, that might generate more appointments?
So
all right. Okay, Vlad, go ahead. I wanted to talk about this, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be sure. Basically, the main idea is to be always on the front of your audience and the people you reach out to. It's like the same as retargeting, but if you add audience on LinkedIn, you want to be sure you're sharing some content. So better to share weekly posts. It can be anything like corporate news, article recap, or just something about your product service. But it will just keep them engaged and kind of keep you on their radar. So that's basically it.
Yeah,
it's just it's very
make
important.
Sure that when they are scrolling their news feed on LinkedIn, they should always see your face there, at least once a day. And then
then you do outreach in parallel on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
via email, and as
And you use the
get
same photo.
retargeted. So you're basically everywhere, and yeah, that's the whole road to success there.
So we're moving to another one, just the last of that point. Reviews, review website, work with them, like Clutch, G2, Capterra, Trustpilot, all of those, Google My Business Page. Really work with those platforms. Make sure that you have a lot of reviews about your product or your service, because if you have, then every person have their own preferred platform to check before joining a meeting or answering the email. And if you're going to have hundreds of 5-star reviews everywhere, you would see that your campaigns will be much more successful. We've had a client who was the best advertising agency in the States with probably like 2,000 5-star reviews. They were like, they went beyond and above with those reviews, right? They had like hundreds of case studies. If I have 2,000 5-star reviews and hundreds of case studies, I can start my email with this. I am the best advertising agency in the States with over 2,000 5-star reviews. I know how to do my shit. Let's get a call so I can do advertising for you, right? So that's the opening basically, because you're Mike Tyson in the space, right?
Here's the link for my 500 case studies. Feel free to check it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the next one. So what are the typical, this one, because I want to address Artem's question here. Any advice on writing for tech titles? If I were to really send a cold email targeting technical titles, any advices?
I can answer, yeah. So I have a bunch of clients that, of course, want to target many different industries. And their titles are CTO, CEO, and technical managers, or something like that. Since we can't create a personalized initial email for each company, the best choice is here to personalize them with case studies. There should be the name of their current clients, successful cases, and especially a lot of metrics and numbers. We usually add this paragraph as a variable in our sequence. So this variable changes according to the chosen industry, and thus we have a kind of personalized message for each industry and that we want to target. Sometimes I use the variable technology. It means that we'll send prospects personalized messages with the certain technologies that they need the most at this time. So I believe it's a great and easy way to personalize almost any set of templates, especially for tech titles that want to have more numbers, more personalized, like examples, case studies, and metrics. So it's kind of my experience working with CTOs.
I think that they also they feel like the bullshit. They hate bullshit. Like, hi John, I've been following you guys for a while now. They just cut the crap. What do you want? So I think that maybe the education approach works better. It's like, hey, here's a great article about working like best practices or like to increase your FPS with Firebase. And I know you guys are using Firebase. Whatever, right? So it's kind of going with facts, going with the data, going with like something that they would utilize. Only then they respond without
free trials, yeah.
Right, free trial. Use this, test this. This is what you're gonna get. I know you have a problem. Here is the solution. Something like this, right? I think that this might work with tech titles. So just don't date with them. Don't kind of go around about like saying nice words about them. Just go ahead with like whatever you want. Yeah. All right, we have a really interesting one from Hussein here. So Hussein asks, if I'm trying to sell Facebook and Google advertising services to floral industry, but I have 0 floral case studies, but I have e-commerce case studies, what should I do? Do I need to still include e-commerce case studies when I'm sending to floral?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, for sure. I mean, what I think you do is that they still should have e-commerce kind of plugin, so they still should sell something through the internet. And you don't necessarily have to, you can honestly say, hey, I don't have any case study for floral industry, but I've done a lot of e-commerce websites that are similar to you, and the mechanics there are still the same. And now you go from this, you can even, like, a great thing to do here is pretend, okay, I don't know nothing about your industry, and I'll be honest here. And what I want to get from this call is not really, sell you something. I want to get a user interview. So tell me about your industry, and I can, think of your problems, get back to you, and see if I can solve them for you. And that works pretty well. And the call to action of user interview, say, hey, nothing salesy, no hard sales tactics, just user interview works perfectly well, especially if you're a newbie in the industry.
And I would say also maybe kind of you can try to think about launching local campaign maybe first, although it's still like online business, e-commerce and advertising. But yeah, you can go ahead and try shooting for local floral businesses to see if there is any success in there. Then you work with them, and boom, you have 1, 2, 3 case studies in floral business. Then you can reach out to any other geography, states or countries.
Yeah, so you're not focusing at all, on the industries, but just, on the fact that you're local, that you worked with like 5, 10-ish businesses in that state or city. And then, when sharing case studies, then you can share the ones you have.
And then just don't tell that you don't have floral case studies, right? You have, Hussein here wrote that he worked with over 100 clients in e-commerce and had a lot of case studies. So just don't say that they are not in floral. Just say that, hey, here are 100 case studies, right? So let's work. I have a lot of experience. Why do you need to be specific about the floral, right? Your point about the user interview is great. Very often people don't want to get on demos because they think that they're going to be sold to, but actually to answer questions about their industry or answer questions about their needs and look for solution and getting the consultation or sort of like just being helpful and being nice is something that people would want to be. And that's why they can definitely join the user interview, or at least, get you some feedback.
And it also works for really like high level titles in big companies. So either, as you mentioned, either for the case when you don't have relevant clients in the niche, or when you're aiming like super high, like Fortune 500, 1000 or something like this, or the country you never worked with, you can say, hey, I'm interviewing like VPs of HR in healthcare or in any other industry. Already have a lot of feedback from them, a lot of insights. So if you want to participate, and then you know what to do. You have them, you interviewed them, and then it's your job just to follow up and set up some demos. And especially given the fact you heard about their pain points, with the current situation, the company, how you can frame your next email and next follow-up. So this kind of logical campaign for the cases when you think that proposing demo right away is not a good option.
All right, I think that we're going to finish up with this last one. Konstantin asked here, did you try to combine email, LinkedIn outreach with PPC marketing campaign? When you capture lead on some point, they visit your link, then you send them, then you get them, and then make additional touches with them via ads on their site, basically making this omnichannel approach. I'm going to be the first to answer this. Yes, we tried. Yes, that works fine. The problem here is more like the volume. So in a way, always think of the average conversion, right? You can send 100 personalized emails, but then if you send 200 automated emails that would give you the same conversion, then probably you send 200 automated emails than the 100 personalized one. The same goes with this. So if it's very complicated for you to sort of like set up the process, follow the process, get those few leads appointments, and the cost is right, perfect. But if you cannot get the volume at the right cost, then yeah, that would work for you, but maybe that's not the right approach. I think that starts simple and then add those additional channels, additional touches as you go to increase the conversion is the right approach. But starting this off with the already complex approach wouldn't answer the question, what part of that funnel, what part of that process is not working for you well? Would that be the email? Would that be LinkedIn? Would that be the advertising? But when you start with the email, make sure that it works. You add LinkedIn, you increase something, then you add advertising, you see much higher results. Then you see as you go, every next touch, every next process just extrapolates the work and get more results.
And I would say that's all about the budget. So, you think of the best channel that works for you, better, either email, LinkedIn, or PPC, and you focus on that one. And then you use others as an addition to that one. And it's let's say you can use PPC combined with an email. You don't even have to, know a specific email, whatever, to launch the Facebook ads. You can just, focus on a specific office. Like I want someone from Google. So you just run the whole, a mail campaign or Facebook campaign on Google, you send those folks from Google these emails, and I mean, kind of, you make sure you touch them with, at least 2 times when they, in their spare time, they're looking through the Facebook feed, and then when during business hours when they, look through their work email. But that was pretty wild. But overall, it's really all about the budget. It might not work well for you. You might see that, okay, I would better invest more into the email marketing and get 1,000 more leads, and I get higher numbers rather than I spend the same amount on PPC and combine it with email and I get lower numbers. So it's a numbers game.
Thanks, Yuri. All right, guys, we're out of time. People, I really appreciate you joining for this discussion with me and the gang here. Guys, thank you for taking the time. I know you all are busy and you've allocated this hour and a half in the schedule to share your experience. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing and the time that you spent. Folks, we're done for today. The recording will be available and sent to you by email. Also check out blog, check out podcast, and really educate yourself, because as you heard from this discussion, there are a lot of things that are going on, and we just don't have time in the day to talk about all of those details or just put all of that in front of you. So you need to figure that out by yourself. And to do that, you need to always grow and always try something new and learn something new. So for that, consume content. All right. I appreciate you all today. Have a great one all. Take care, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.